What's up YouTube? Welcome to part 4 of my video series on creating a MERN CRUD app. So in the last video we set up our React front end. We did create, read, update, and delete. And now in this video we're going to switch back to our server and we're going to add an authentication system. So we're going to be using JSON Web Tokens, which is a popular standard that tons of APIs use. It's pretty easy to set up, so it shouldn't be a crazy long video. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, do that now, and otherwise we're gonna get right into it. Let's go! Alright, so in the last couple of videos we were working in React. We can close all that. We're gonna be switching back to Express. So let's cd to our Express folder, which is called server. I'll just drag it in, hit enter, and then I'm gonna open that folder with the code dot. So I got my server open, and then let's start it with npm run dev. We got our server running, so let's start coding. So to add an authentication system, the first thing we got to do is create a user model. So let's go within our models folder and we'll create a new one called user.js. Now let's just copy everything in our note model over to the user file and let's repurpose it. So it's going to be a user schema this time, and a user is going to have an email and a password. And in the past, we've just been putting the type right here, but we can actually do additional configuration. So instead of just putting the type, let's do an object, and we'll go type string. And let's add some additional config. So we want required true. It makes the field required. We want unique true. So every email within our database has to be unique. Let's do lowercase true. And this is going to convert any email that comes in to lowercase, so it's consistent. And then let's go index true. And this just makes querying by email a lot faster, but it also makes your database a little bit bigger. But we want that. And then let's go to password. We'll do the same thing. And here we'll go type string. And we'll do required true. So that looks, whoops. That looks good for our schema. Let's go down here, and it's now a user and a user right here. And we pass it the user schema, and then at the bottom we export user. So that looks good for our model file. Let's save that and let's create a controller now. So let's go in here and we'll go users controller.js. And in here, let's import our model. So const capital user is equal to require, and we gotta go back a folder. So // model / user. And then let's create some functions. So let's go function sign up. Sign up is gonna get rec and res. And let's copy this a couple times. So we're gonna have sign up. We're gonna have login. We're gonna have log out. And then let's just export these three functions. So we go module.exports is equal to. We can only export one thing, so let's do an object that contains all three of these. So sign up is equal to sign up, login is equal to login, log out is equal to log out. That looks good. Now we can connect these functions to our application. So let's go to server, and we got to import our users controller. So const users controller is equal to require / controllers / users controller. And then let's go down here and add some routes. So let's go app.post to /signup. And when someone hits sign up, we want it to run users controller.signup. And we made it a post because we're going to be sending in data. We're going to be sending in an email and password. And we also need post for login because we'll be sending in the same thing. So let's go /login and route it to users controller.login. And then let's do a get request for logout. So app.get /logout, and it routes to users controller.logout. So there we go. We got routes for each one of those functions we created. So let's start coding them. We'll go back to users controller. And let's start with sign up. So in here, what do we want to do? We want to get the email and password off rec body. We want to create a user with the data, and then we want to respond. So the first part, we just go const, and we want to get email and password off of rec.body. And then we want to create a user, so it's going to be await capital user, When we're doing await, it's got to be async, so add that up here. So await user.create, and then we give it our email and password. And then we got to respond down here, and I don't really want to respond with anything, so we're just going to send a status code. So let's go res.sendStatus, and we'll do 200, which is success. So let's go back to Postman, and we'll try this out. Let's create a new collection within our note-taking app project. So hit the plus, we'll name this Authentication, and then in Authentication, we'll add a new request, and we'll call this sign up. And it's going to be a post request to localhost 3000/signup. And we got to send some data. So let's go to body, we'll go to raw, we'll set it to JSON. And we'll put our JSON right here. So we want email. And I'll just do test@email.com. And then we need a password. So let's go password is equal to password 123. Let's hit save the request, and then let's send it. So we send it and we get a 200 back. So it should be saved in our database. Let's check that out. We go to our database and I'll hit refresh. And we now have a users table, and within there we have our user that we saved. So that's cool, but we're saving their password in plain text, which is a big security flaw. So what we got to do is basically encrypt it and save an encrypted version of it. So to do that, everyone uses a library called Bcrypt. And there's a couple different ones on NPM, but the one we want is Bcrypt Js. So we'll go in here and we're going to add it to our project. So let's go to our terminal. We'll open up a new tab. We're still in the server folder. I'm going to run npm install --save Bcrypt Js. So that's going to grab that. Let's check out the docs. So npm's acting weird, so I got to go to their GitHub. Scroll down, and yeah, basically we get a function to create an encrypted version of that password, and then a function to compare the encrypted version with a string to see if they match. So let's copy this line right here. We'll go back to our code. We're going to import the library at the top. So const bcrypt is equal to require, and it's a Bcrypt Js. So we got it imported. Let's go down here and we're going to add a new section called hash password. Paste in that line we copied. So let's go const hashed password is equal to that line we copied. So here we just give it a string. So we want to encrypt our password and then just leave the 8. And now instead of saving the plain text password, we want to save this hash. So right here we'll go hash password. And then let's try our route again. So let's go to Postman, and we hit send, and we get an error. So if we go back here, it's saying, hey, you said email addresses are going to be unique. We already have this one in our database, so I'm going to crash your whole server, and good luck. So let's fix the crashing part first. So we have to catch the error, and the easiest way to do that is just wrap it in try catch. So let's go try, and we want to try all this. And then if there's an error, let's catch it. We'll console.log it. And then we'll res.sendStatus, and we'll do 400, which is kind of just a generic error code. So save that. Our server restarted. Let's hit send again. And this time we get that 400 error, bad request. And we get the error logged, but it didn't crash our server. So everything's still running, which is good. So let's go back here, and let's try it with a different email actually. So let's do test2@email.com and save it, and then send, and we get 200. So it should be saved in the database. Let's check that out. Go back here, hit refresh, and we got a new one now. And for password, we got this crazy hash string thing that we can't read, which is good. So now we're going to do login, so we can close this. Let's go to login, and what do we got to do in here? We got to get the email and password off rec body, and then we want to find the user with requested email, and then we want to compare sent in password with found user password hash, And then if everything matches, we want to send a JWT token. Well, first we got to create a JWT token. And then at the bottom we send it. So let's start up here, and it's just const, and we want to get email and password off of rec.body. And then we got to find the user with this email. So to do that, it's going to be await, and when we use await, it's got to be async. So await capital user, and in the past we did .find by ID, but we don't have the ID in here. We just have their email. So we're going to do find one instead. And this returns the first user that matches the conditions we put in this object right here. So we want to find a user where email is equal to our email right here, and it matches, so I'll just shorten it. So this should be grabbing our user. Let's assign it to user. And then down here we got to compare the user password to the password they sent in. So let's go back to Bcrypt, and it's right here to do it. So let's copy this line, and we'll paste it right there. And this returns either true or false depending on if they match. So let's assign this to a variable called password match. It's equal to bcrypt.compareSync. So we give it the string password, which is what they sent in, so password. And we want to compare it with this user's saved password. User.password. So this will give a true or false, and if it's false, we'll go if no password match. If they don't match, we want to return early and just do res.send status 401, which is unauthorized. And then up here, we got to check if the user exists. So let's go if no user. We want to return early, and we want to do res.send status 400. Or let's do 401 also. So we find the user. If it doesn't exist, we send 401, and then we check the passwords. If they don't match, we send 401. If we're down here, we know it's valid credentials, so we're going to generate a JWT token. So to do that, we need another library, and it's this one right here called jsonwebtoken. So if you search JWT, you can usually just look at the popularity. So this one has 9 million a week. So that's a good one. Let's install it. Go back here in that second tab and run npm install --save jsonwebtoken. So that'll grab it. Let's take a look at how to use it. So if we go to their docs, you basically get two functions. You get sign to create one, and you get verify to decode it, verify it, and then read the data inside it. So let's copy the line to create one right here. And then let's go back to our controller, and we're going to import the library. So const jwt is equal to require jsonwebtoken. And then let's minimize, never mind. Go down here. And we want to create a token here. So paste in that line. I'll make it const. And yeah, check it out. The first argument is the data we want to encrypt within our token. In the second argument, we put a secret key that's going to be used to encrypt and decrypt it. So right here is another good place for an environment variable. So let's go to our M file and we'll create one. So let's go, we'll call it secret, and secret's equal to just a random string. Now let's go in here and use it. So it's process.env.secret. And in the first video, I had you loading the environment variables in every file that we use it. I was wrong. You actually just have to do it once within server. So we have it up here, so we can actually go back to our connected database file and delete it up here. So do that. We can close this again. We'll go back here. I don't know why I have changes, but hit save. And we're in users controller. So we got our secret now, and now we got to encrypt some data. So if you check out the Jwt Spec, so they write out this big document and then everyone implements it after. If you go to claims down here, they kind of give you some recommended ones. None of them are required, but here's some standard ones. You can have an issuer, a subject, the audience, expiration time. We're going to be doing sub and expiration. So let's go back here, and sub is subject, and our subject is the user. So let's save our user.id here. underscore ID. And then we're going to set an expiration time. So let's go exp. And let's create a variable called exp. And we're going to go date.now. And this gives us the number of milliseconds since 1970 something. And yeah, we know it's in milliseconds. So if we add 1,000, that adds 1 second. So this would expire in 1 second. If we times that by 60, we get a minute. By 60 is an hour. By 24 is a day. And by 30 would be 30 days. So let's do it like that. And then expiration is equal to expiration, exp. They match, so I'll just shorten it. So that looks good. We got our token here, and let's just respond with it to see what we're getting. So res.json, and I'll send the token back. And that looks good. Let's try out our function. So let's go back to Postman. I'm going to duplicate the signup function. I'll just call it login. And change the URL to login. And I'm going to save and send this function. So I hit send and we get this token back, which is our JSON web token. So here's what it looks like. So now our user is going to send this token with every request. And when it hits our server, we can decode this if it's valid. If it's not valid, it won't decode. And yeah, respond accordingly. So in every other video I've seen, they just send the token like this and then they have the user store it in local storage. And from what I've read, that's a bad idea and you should never do that. And they recommend sending it in an HTTP cookie. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So right here, instead of sending it, let's just send status 200. And then up here, we're going to set the cookie. So to create a cookie, it's just res.cookie. I think that's it. Yep. And then the first argument is what we want to name it. So let's do authorization. And then the second argument is the value. So let's go token. And then the third argument is the options. So let's open up an object. And here's the options we can do. We got max age, signed. There's more. So let's check out the additional ones. If we go to the cookie-parser library. Let's set this up real quick first. So by default, Express won't read cookies off the request body. So we have to add this package right here. So let's install that. We'll just go npm install --save cookie-parser. And then let's check out the docs. So if we go to their GitHub repo, we install it and then we import it. So let's go to our server file. We'll import it right here, cookie-parser. I'll make it a const. And then similar to when we made our Express app read JSON, we got to do it with this cookie-parser. So let's go app.use. We just run cookie-parser inside here, like that. So now we can read cookies, and then let's take a look at the options. So let's go to cookie right here. Go to the docs. And here's all the options it accepts. So decode we don't want to do. Oh, sorry, down here. Domain, encode, expires. So we're going to want to do our expiration time. So let's go back here. Let's do expires. And then up here we did the millisecond stuff. Down here we can't do milliseconds. It has to be an actual timestamp. So we can go new date. And then let's give it the time, which we can use these milliseconds up here. So just like that. So there's our expires argument or option. And then we want HTTP only. This makes it so only the browser and our server can read the cookie. So HTTP only is equal to true. And then what else is there? Max age is the number in second. We're not going to do max age. But we do want the same site and we want to make it lax. And then the last one is we want secure. So this will make it only work on HTTPS. So we're on just normal HTTP for localhost. So what I'm going to do is go secure. And I'm going to go process.env.nodeenv equal to production. So that way if we're on production, this will be true, and on localhost, it'll just be false. So that looks good for the cookie. Let's go back to Postman and try it out. So we hit login on this. We get our 200 back, and now we're getting a cookie. So we get our authorization cookie. Here's the value, which is our token. It works on localhost, the path, and we got the expiration time for 1 month from today. HTTP only, and then we got false for secure since we're not in production. So that looks good. So now we can test out our authorization. So we want to secure a route, and to do that we have to use middleware. So we're going to create a new folder called middleware, and then in here we'll create a new file called requireauth.js. In here, let's import the JSONwebtoken library. So JWT is equal to require JSONwebtoken. And then let's create a function. So function require auth. And this is going to take rec, it's going to take res, and it's going to take a third argument called next. So let's just console.log in here and put in middleware. And they call it middleware because this function is going to run in between like the path they're requesting and the controller function. So we'll do in middleware. So if you want it to continue from the middleware, you just call next. And then let's export this function. So module.export is equal to require auth. And then let's hook it up to our path. So let's go into server and let's import that. So let's go const require auth is equal to, and we'll get that file. So is ./middleware/require auth, and then let's hook it up to a route. So let's just create a new route. We'll go back into our controllers, users controller. Let's create one just called function. We'll call it check auth. It's going to get rec and res. And then let's just do res.send status 200. Save that. Let's go back to our server and create that route. So we'll go app.get /check auth. And then let's connect it to users controller .check auth. I didn't export it, so go back to users controller and add it down here. And now we can go .check auth. Okay, now we want to connect our middleware to this function. So it just goes in the middle right here. So we'll go require auth. So now someone's going to hit check auth. It's going to run our require auth function. And in here we can check if they're logged in and if the token's valid. And if it's not, we can return early and send a 401. And if it is good, we call next and it moves on to our check auth controller function. So let's go to a Postman and let's create a new one. We'll go add request, call it check auth, and it's going to be localhost/check auth. Let's hit send. We'll get 200 back. So let's start writing our middleware. And if we go here, we get in middleware. So we know it's running that function. So let's go back here, and what do we got to do? We got to, let's think about this. Read token off cookies. And then we want to decode the token. And then find user using decoded sub, which is the user ID that we saved. And then down here, what do we want to do? We want to attach user to request and then continue on. So we already got the continue part by calling this next function, so leave that. We'll go up here, and to get the cookie we go rec.cookies whatever we named it. Ours is authorization, so let's assign this to a variable called token, and then we got to decode our token. So let's look up how to do that. Let's go back to the jsonwebtoken docs. Scroll down, it's going to be this verify function, and they got an example right here. So let's copy that, paste it in. We'll go const decoded is equal to, and then we pass in the token we got right here, and we got to put our secret key. So it was process.env.secret. So this will decode it. If it fails, it's going to throw an error. So let's catch the error. So we'll go try. Oops. We'll go try. And we're going to try everything in here. And if it fails, we'll catch the error. And we'll just go return res.send status 401. Alright, so if we do get past this line, we have our decoded token. So let's find the user. So let's go const user, and we got to import the user model. So let's go const capital user is equal to require. We got to go back a folder to models / user. So const user is equal to await. And when we use await, it's got to be async. So go back up here. So await user.find1. Actually, we can do find by ID, because we saved the ID within the token as sub. So find by ID decoded.sub. So this should find our user. If there's no user, let's return res.send status 401. If there is a user, we'll make it down here, and we got to attach it to the request. And to do that, you're just going to do rec.user is equal to user. And we do this so we can access it within our controller function. So let's see, we're decoding it, we're getting the user, we're attaching it, and then we're continuing. So let's go back to our users controller, and let's just console.log rec.user to make sure we're getting it. So let's go back to Postman, we'll hit send, and we get 200. And we go back here, and we can see it's retrieving the user we're logged in as. So everything's working. And cookies send automatically. So when we logged in here, we set the cookie, and now any future request is going to attach that cookie. So last up, we got to do a logout route. So it's I'll close this, go to logout, and all we got to do in here is delete the cookie and then respond with 200. So let's go. It's res.clear cookie, I believe. Let's see. Is that a function? Yep. And then we give it the name of the cookie we want to clear. So we named ours authorization. And then down here, let's res.send status 200. And let's try that out. So go to Postman, we'll create a new request. It's going to be localhost /logout. And it's a get request this time. I'll save that. Let me name it logout. Hit save, hit send. And it does it, and now our cookie is cleared. So check it out. We go back here, and we set a cookie when we log in. We get a check auth. We get 200 back, so we're logged in. We hit log out. It deletes that cookie. If I get check auth again, we get unauthorized. So that's working. One thing we forgot to do is we got to go back to our middleware. And we also want to check that the token's not expired. So in between finding the user and decoding it, let's go check expiration. And let's go if date.now, which is the current time, is greater than decoded.expiration. And if it's expired, we just want to do this again. So send 401. So that will do the expiration time. Let's test out the expiration. So let's go to users controller, and where we're creating the cookie, instead of making it good for 30 days, let's just do 10 seconds. So let's go back here and check it out. We log in, we get a new cookie that's good for 10 seconds. Let's go to check auth. I'm logged in, let's wait a few seconds. So I hit send, and now it's expired, so I get unauthorized. So that's cool. And it actually cleared the cookie too. So it automatically deletes the cookie when the expiration time that was set reaches. So yeah, let's go back here. Let's just set it back to 30 days. And then one more thing we have to do is go to our server. And since we're working on our React app on a different domain, we have to do some special config within the cores. So let's do an object and go origin true and credentials true. Save that. I think we got everything. Let me look through real quick and see if we forgot anything. So that's all working. Let's check out our users controller. Yeah, maybe let's catch errors in here just in case. Let's go try to do all our stuff. And if there is an error, let's log it. Error, and then res.send status 400. So we just want to be pretty much catching errors on all our routes so it doesn't crash our server. We can do it right here too. Let's just go try. Catch error, console.log it. Res.send status 400. So this one's good, login's good, signup's good, check auth. So right here we can do it just in case. Okay, everything looks good. So in the next video, we're gonna connect our React app to this authentication system we set up. So I'll see you in the next one.